We're here today with Allan Funk. Some of you may know him as Kwee, some of you may know him as Bruce, but we're glad to have Allan Funk with us today. Welcome very much.
Lucha Libre.
Chi and Lucha Libre. We're going to cover that as well.
The Funkster.
The Funkster. We're going to cover all of it. You're a relatively young guy.
I'm 40.
Relatively young. When we do these Legends conventions, you know, you're moving around pretty well.
I've been in business for about 17, 18 years. So.
Yeah, before a lot of people think that you started with the power plant.
Yeah, no, it's
but
not
actually it goes before that. Right?
Yeah, way before. Probably in '92 I started getting into wrestling, and then probably about '94 I was actually legitimately wrestling in a ring that was actually a ring in a little town.
So when you graduated from the backyard to the real ring?
Yeah, you know, we did some stuff like we had some big mats that we got from the high school and stuff, and did, you know, started out on that. And you know, where I'm from, a little town, Ohio, there wasn't no, you know, I didn't really know anybody other than a couple hours away that I really couldn't afford to drive. So I had to wait till I actually met this guy that was a corrections officer at a detention center. He had a wrestling ring and a...
what was his name?
Well, he was on the independent scenes for a while. His name was Michael Firehouse.
Okay.
I don't really like the guy, but I'll give him a plug. He's kind of cheesy, but he had a ring for me to train in. It was in an old school building. He was a volunteer fireman. That's why he went by Michael Firehouse. It made his gimmick actually legit. So he let me train the ring, and I started with a partner of mine named Greg Anderson. We were a tag team called Terminal Punishment. My name was Vitor, which is, I liked Vitor Belfort from the UFC, so I just kind of switched it around. I went by Vitor, and he went by the Rogue, and we were Terminal Punishment. And the first match was against the Batten Twins.
Really?
Yeah, so we actually won the titles against the Batten Twins. And then, I don't know if you ever heard of the tag team Los Rudos? You ever heard out of Michigan?
Los Rudos, no?
So I actually, the first couple matches I had was with actually legitimate, you know, wrestlers. I really did, I was green, you know, I kind of BS.
But basically self-trained.
Yeah, pretty much self-trained, yeah. Up to that point until I came down to WCW, and then.
How many years were you, you know, working in Ohio before you decided to relocate to power plant?
From about '94 till doing shows in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, till about I did my tryout at power plant July of '98. So.
Okay, so you put in 4 or 5 years before you ever got to the power plant.
Yeah, so July '98, I went down there and did 3 days of hell, which all the horror stories are probably 10 times worse than
How much did they charge you the first time?
They charged me, I think it was $250 to come down for the 3-day tryout, and it fucking sucked. It was the worst thing I ever did in my life.
Really?
It sucked.
Could have been too bad. You stuck it out.
Well, after mentally, I mean, you know, I used to power lift and bodybuild and stuff, so, you know, mentally, you know, pain kind of, you know, when you're in wrestling, you like pain anyway, I think. So, you know, the 3-day tryouts, it was tough, man. It was one of the hardest things I ever did, that's for sure.
Did you come down with the Greg Anderson guy? Or
I did not. He's real short, and I mean, he's real stocky, but he doesn't have the drive. Like, I mean, he always wanted to be a pro wrestler, but he just didn't want to take it to the next level. I don't know if he was afraid of leaving a small town or what the deal was. We never really got into it, but you know, I told him I was going to be
solely by yourself. You decided to go without any other friends,
I
family.
Went down there and made it, and Jody Hamilton, the assassin, they took me in the office after 3 days, invited me back for training. Supposedly it was like 6 months, but you had to pay like $3,000. But I ended up not paying anything because once I moved down there in October of '98, I did the tryouts in July, so I moved down there in October after I quit my job in Ohio and stuff. And then once I got in there, I was going to start paying him, and then once we started training, he told me to hold off on it, and then before you know it, Paul Wendorf came down there and they did a tryout where the guys that were going to stay in the new power plant, they were taken to the new building, the new facility. They had the new improved power plant. I guess that's what they called it. Once he watched us wrestle and do some matches and stuff, I wrestled Elix Skipper and I don't know, remember Kid Romeo, and I did a match with those guys, and Paul Wendorf loved us. So then they offered us a contract like probably a week later.
Wow.
So then I never had to pay my $3,000, thank God.
Who were some of the other guys in that first 3-day session, the one that you paid $250 for, that we would even hear of?
Nobody. I was the only one that made it through there.
How many other guys were there?
Probably I'd say 15 to 20.
It was just one of those puke sessions, try to get them up.
Oh yeah, it's brutal. You got guys within 10 minutes wanting to crawl out the door.
Mm-hmm.
It's that bad, guys. I mean, I've seen guys. Remember Chase Tatum? He actually passed away a couple years ago.
I recognize the name.
Big Chase. He was with Brad Armstrong, the No Limit Soldiers.
Yes.
Real
yes,
big dude.
Yep. Okay.
He actually tackled a dude through a wall. They went right through the drywall. They just covered it up with one of the WCW banners, like a Fall Brawl banner or something. You know? So all the horror stories you hear, I mean, you just squat, push up. You know, I was there in July, 90 degrees outside. We're doing push-ups in the blacktop. You know, they're kicking our heads, you know.
And who's basically running this? Sarge?
Sarge is running it. He's Sarge, and when I went down there, Pez Watley, and actually Pez was in real good shape when I went down there. He was hanging in the squats and everything, man. So, you know, the guys that were Mike Sanders, Elix Skipper, they were already there. They'd already done their tryouts, so they were kind of taking me through the rigors of the training, the 3 days. And Kid Romeo was there too, and I'm trying, you know, Chase Tatum and a few other guys.
Were the Thrillers guys, were they in that same class?
Oh, actually, yeah, Jindrak was there. Actually, he went before me, and Reno. Reno was there as well. Chuck Palumbo. So then once we all got our contract in, shortly after I got there, so then we went to the new power plant, and they had a couple new guys there, and you know, they had a few independent guys, but you know, guys got released. Mike Sanders got released. And Paul Wendorf never really liked him. He's like, yeah, you're out of here, you suck, or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Was it attitude or what?
No, not really. He just, Paul, he wasn't, Paul liked more bodybuilding looking type guys, and Mike really didn't have that look.
Sure.
And I think that's what Paul didn't like about him, if that makes sense. But Paul was one of those guys where, you know, if that's what he likes, you ain't changing his mind.
Right.
You know, so, and you know, Paul, he was straightforward, and he didn't give a shit if he pissed you off.
So all you guys that got signed, like, was it like a 1 year deal, or was it a weekly deal?
We had initially we had a 3 year, I believe it was, with you know, in these wrestling contracts, they suck.
Right.
They could release you anytime they wanted. So the 3 year contract was just basically I got a 3 year contract. Mentally, you're saying that, but I mean, they you know, they had a clause in there, they could release you at any time and pay you 90 days.
Right.
Which is what WWE had, the same thing. So when they released us from there, you know, we got paid 90 days.
So you were training at this new power plant, and then you know, before long they put you on television. You guys were relative. I mean, not so much green. That's not a fair word to say, but you were new to the WCW area.
Yeah. When I was still green, really, because you know, I never really had any really good training from anybody knew what the hell they were doing. Just from, you know, I went in the ring and was just messing around. And then I learned a little bit from the Batten twins, but they didn't really teach me a lot. Just, you know, here and there, a few things at the shows we were doing. And then October, actually, right after I signed my contract, Kevin Nash, well, Kid Romeo was a big ass kisser. So before you know it, he's talking to Kevin Nash. And so Kevin had something to do with the booking, and Kevin Sullivan, all those guys. So he came down to the power plant one day and said, hey, this is who I want to wrestle on the Saturday night show. So, because me and Kid Romeo always had good matches, you know, and so me and him, out of all the guys in the power plant, were the first ones to get on the Saturday night show. So me and him wrestled. We did 2 matches that night. He won the first one, I won the second one. So it was on for 2 weeks, and that's usually how we tape when we tape the Wednesday night on.
And that goes out to millions of people.
Yeah, that was a great show, man.
Yeah.
WCW Saturday nights. Everybody watched it.
Did you think you were ready for TV at that time? Maybe looking back, fair to say.
Yeah, I was ready for TV as long as I was wrestling with somebody I was comfortable with. You know, as far as like wrestling a big name, I probably wouldn't. I would have got through it, but I wouldn't have been as comfortable as if I didn't wrestle somebody out of the power plant.
How much do they give you a lot of matches like on the road? That time?
Actually, about that time, me and Kid Romeo did a little loop where we went down to Florida with Chuck Palumbo and Sonny Siaki. We did like a 3-day house show loop, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then come back up to Atlanta. So I was pretty much wrestling Kid Romeo, and they all kept us, guys wrestling guys from the power plant. And then we had little spots with like Rick Steiner came in the ring and did some stuff with us, and that's how we started getting acquainted with all the other guys. They do little spots with us and stuff. You know.
Were there any veterans that like stepped up and said, let me help these kids?
Yeah, there was a lot, man. Brad Armstrong, Steve Regal was great. Dave Taylor, of course Paul, but Paul really didn't really show us much. He just pretty much got in the ring and dropped his pants, started flexing his legs, and told us how good a shape he was in. And let's see, I'm trying to think who else is down here. Brian Clark, which was Adam Baum, Chronic. There was a few other guys in there. Bobby Eaton come down there and helped us out a lot. I learned a little bit of shoot fighting a little bit from Tank Abbott and Don Fry when they came down there. But there was always somebody popping their head in there, but they didn't all necessarily. What was his name? Thomas. One of the Mexican wrestlers. He would come down there a lot and do a lot of chain wrestling with us. I can't remember.
What, the Villanos?
Villanos. That's
okay.
It. Yeah, I think it was Villano 5 maybe.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah, he used to come down there and teach me, and he likes a lot of good chain wrestling stuff, Mexican style stuff. So
that probably paid dividends for you when you got to work internationally.
You know what? It's not really, because when I was over in Japan and stuff with All Japan, nobody could hardly speak English anyway, so it didn't matter what the hell you knew. So you just kind of backstage, you'd walk through a deal, and hopefully you got through the match.
Right. How intimidating was that locker room? Because that was full of a ton of stars at that time.
WCW really wasn't intimidating at all. Most of the guys were pretty cool. Like Bill Goldberg, he always came down to the power plant. He never, taught us anything, but he's cool to hang out with. He'd always, give us time to talk to us, and he was always pretty cool, never a dick to us at all. Kevin Nash, since Kevin Nash kind of opened up to us, that it opened the door for the rest of the guys. Say, they must not be too bad because Kevin Nash is hanging out with them. Mm-hmm. And Kevin actually, his mother-in-law lived across the street from me, so he'd always, come over to the house, or we'd hang out a little bit, or I travel with him a little bit. So, with Kevin liking us, I think it helped us out a little bit.
Who gave you the Kwee character?
That was Vince Russo and Terry Taylor. I actually, me and Mike Sanders were in an airport in West Virginia. Just did a Saturday night taping, and they saw me, and they're like, and I had my hair up in the airport, and they're like, "You actually wear your hair like that?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, that's the way I wear it." So, and I started letting it grow, so it got a little longer, and then. They said, well, we might have something for you. So, by probably the next week, they came down to the power plant, and they were talking to me about this gimmick they had in mind. They said it was, they wanted to be kind of a spin-off of Mango from Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm. So they had me,
were you familiar with Mango? Or?
I saw it, but I really wasn't familiar with it. Excuse me. So I actually went and bought a Saturday Night Live tape, like a collection, and they had a few of them on there, so I watched him and I tried to. But to me, the character was never really like that, so I don't even know why they.
What kind of direction did they give you initially?
Really not a whole lot. They wouldn't let me do anything. They basically told me, if we hear any queer chants, the gimmick's done with. So I'm like, man, so you're setting me up for failure. You're giving me pink. You're making me look like a queer.
And explain why they would cut the gimmick off if there was.
They just for the TV program
standards and practices.
They didn't want it, but they wanted to try to see if it would work. And then when it started getting over, they never let me do anything. It
is kind of, you're right, setting you up for failure, because if you're too good and you push it too much, they're going to pull you off.
Yeah, but we never got any chance like that or anything, and because that's kind of what I did, the alter ego kind of snap into a different mode, and it worked out. It was actually getting pretty good, man. And then that's when
was your first reaction to it a positive one?
I was willing to do anything. I just wanted to do whatever I could to all the hard work was starting to pay off, and I was willing to do whatever it took. So I would have preferred not to do it, but when you're just
did you pitch anything else that they shot down? Or?
I don't know if you remember Mike Sanders and myself, we did the Double A team. Mm-hmm. Well, we did that on Saturday Night Live, or the Saturday show, the WCW Saturday night, and the first night we tried it was in Knoxville, And me and Mike were backstage, and we were kind of nervous to do it because Arn was out there. So our spiel was, it only took 2 of us to do what it took 4 of them to do, and we didn't even need a horse. So me and Mike's like, we should run this by Arn. We're like, nah, let's just do it, man, because we'll just do it. Because if we run it by him, he's going to say no.
Right.
So after we did that, then Arn's sitting there at the go position waiting for us when we walked back. And then he gave us a hug. He's like, that was pretty cool, man. So we escaped that one there.
The first person they put Kwee with was the girl is WWE BB.
Yeah, BB, yeah.
Why was that such a short run for her?
My take on it is she had some kind of dealings with Hugh Morris and Bob Holly, and there was something there. I'm not really sure.
Well, to the best of your knowledge.
Yeah, as far as I know, he was, I guess, banging her. I don't know. And
but why would that affect her role on TV for you?
well, because she wasn't comfortable there, I guess. Just because I don't know if you said something to her or what. I don't know. So she was only there maybe a week. So, but I actually still keep in touch with her.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, Kathy. She's
still with Holly?
No,
No?
they broke up a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I think she was with Holly at that time, and he wasn't too happy of her coming to WCW because she was there.
Right.
So I'm sure that had something to do with it. But no one ever told me one way or another. I was just kind of reading between the lines and guessing, I guess. But I still keep in contact with her, and I actually wrestled her in TNA when I was Miss TNA there,
Right.
Bruce. So I had a lingerie match with her one night. So
They switched to Charmel, which they called her Paisley.
well, I had a couple before her.
Okay.
I had some. I don't know if you remember the big boo redhead from Mark Madden got. She was a stripper from Pittsburgh.
I don't even remember that.
So
What's her name?
Papaya, maybe I want to say, or no?
Papaya?
Or no, that
Like the
was
fruit?
that was Kathy's name. Maybe they give her that name too. I'm not sure. But yeah, I had her, and then I'm thinking they brought somebody else in for like a day. I don't even think she came out with me. I think we shot a pre-tape with her, and then I don't even know if they ever put that on.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
And then me and Prince IK started having a feud because Charmel Paisley was falling in love with me or whatever, or enamored by me. So that was kind of cool. And I was looking forward to working with Prince. I only got to work him a couple matches, and then he left WCW. So
I was working with Charmel.
Charmel's great. She's Medusa came down to the power plant and started training the girls how to wrestle a little better. Mm-hmm. And but as far as like a mouthpiece and stuff, I loved when she talked on the mic, and we had good chemistry, so it worked out.
What's your memories of working with Jason Jett on the WCW pay-per-view?
Jason Jett, that was the last pay-per-view. That was what was that? Greed, right?
Great, yeah.
That was in Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah, it was. I wasn't even supposed to be there actually. I was with one of the PR guys that writes and stuff for WCW, and I used to travel with him, so we were friends with a few of the baseball players, so they were spring training that week. So I just drove down there with him spring training, and then we did the loop. And actually, that's when Kevin Nash called us and told us that the company got sold. Vince bought the company.
So you heard it from Kevin first?
Yeah, Kevin called Ross, which is the guy I was with from the office.
Foreman?
Yeah, Ross Foreman. Mm-hmm. And because him and Kevin are real good friends. And then he give me the phone, and I was talking to him, and he said, as far as I know, you're safe. But, he wasn't.
How far into your contract were you at that time?
Let's see. That was probably, 2000, was it 2000, right? When they went out. It was right probably at the end of the 3 years.
2001? 2001.
Yeah, it was probably getting close there. Actually, I think we just signed a new deal because they gave us a raise.
So you went through your first 3-year contract, and they
Yeah, but I don't think it was up yet. I think they just
extended.
Since we were doing more, they kind of revamped our contracts, but it still wasn't worth a crap. But it was better than nothing.
A little sense of security. At least.
So then they did that, and then actually when WWE bought us, they actually gave us another raise. So that was good.
We're going to talk about that transition, but I don't want to overlook some of the things. A lot of people, if you look at yourself on YouTube, one of the first things that comes up is your match with Goldberg.
Oh, okay.
You remember the specific?
Yeah, that was in Augusta, Georgia. That was probably my first, when I was backstage, everybody was like, "Yeah, you're wrestling Bill tonight." And I'm like, "Ah, bullshit! I'm not wrestling Bill. Why would they have me wrestle Bill?"
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, and then my wife actually, she drove down because it was just in Augusta from Atlanta, 2 hours, and so I looked on the board. Sure enough, I'm wrestling Bill. So, you know, I told Bill, I said, "Man, I got an idea, man." I said, "I want to have the best spear, man." And he's like, "All right." So I got in the ring and I showed him what I wanted to do. He goes, "Holy shit, man, I'm going to kill you." I said, "You know." And
So the springboard was your idea.
yeah. So he was. So we actually went through it a couple times and we had the timing down perfect right off the bat. He's like, "Oh my God." He goes, "Dude, I'm going to fucking kill you." I said, "I know, but it's going to be awesome, man."
Yeah.
And he goes, "You sure you want to do that?" I said, "Bill, that'd be great, man." So, and, you know, they had to make it look like I got hurt because, you know, Mike Sanders, that was his whole point because I was wrestling him on the pay-per-view the next Sunday and for the title. So, you know, when we did it in the ring, as soon as we did it, man, I mean, it was perfect timing and everything. And then, yeah, I went backstage and Bill was all, man, hugging me. "Oh, my God, that was great, man. Oh, you won." Man, he goes, "Whatever you need, just let me know, man. That was awesome." Mm-hmm. So, and then I know a couple years later, he was in Japan with Jimmy Yang, and they were talking about who he thought had the best spear ever. So he brought my name up and said that was definitely the best.
It's a great
spear.
compliment.
So, yeah, that's cool.
It's pretty impressive. If you haven't seen it yet, go over to YouTube and type Allan Funk spear and.
It don't last long, so don't blink. But
well,
it's
so
he
thank
actually
you for what
bruised
it
my
is.
ribs.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, bruised my ribs, and if you watch the video, after he hit me pretty hard, dude. I mean, he's a big dude, and I knew it was going to hurt, but I didn't care. And I bruised my ribs, and then when he brought me down the jackhammer, he kind of landed me on my butt a little bit, and I twisted, so my ribs were killing me. So,
But you went through with the match with Sanders the next week, right?
yeah, we wrestled in Milwaukee the following Sunday. So for I don't even know what pay-per-view that was in Milwaukee, but it was for the title, and Sanders ended up beating me.
Was he one of your favorite opponents, Sanders? Since you got to work with him?
Mike he used to be really good at one point, and then he started slacking a little bit because he was just talking on the mic. But probably my favorite wrestler to wrestle down there was probably Elk Skipper. We always had some great matches. We wrestled a couple times on pay-per-views for the title and stuff. So, but I mean, Mike used to be one of my favorite guys, but after he started slacking off, you know.
So, Kevin Sullivan was the first time you heard about the sale.
No, Kevin.
I'm sorry, Kevin Nash was the first one you heard about the sale. What were your initial thoughts? Did you think that, oh no, this is the end for me, or it could have been exciting knowing you had a contract?
Well, initially I thought, man, this isn't going to be well for the guys that aren't really, you know, that are trying to get a spot, don't really kind of have a spot, don't really have a spot. So then I told myself, you know what, just wait and see what happens, because he had said they're going to be down there. So for the last Nitro, and which was in Panama City. So we went there, and first person I see is Shane McMahon, and I've always gotten along great with Shane. You know, he shook my hand. We talked to him for a few minutes, and you know, he said he was looking forward to working with me. So
Shane would go around to everybody and pretty much try to put him at ease. And
well, that and they had a meeting right before the show started. All the boys got in a room, and you know, he pretty much said the sale was final, and you know, they're honoring everybody's contracts, and then those who had some contract issues, they would talk to them individually and, you know, try to work it out. And you know, he was real cool that night. Vince wasn't there, but you know, like Pat was there, and you know, a few of the other guys, and I mean, they made everybody feel comfortable, and it was kind of like the same vibe, and it was kind of exciting, you know, because it was something new. So I tried to put it in my head that it was going to be good.
Could you sense any kind of maybe uneasiness backstage? I mean, you had guys like Flair and Sting, and they're closing out an era knowing Vince has bought this.
I mean, I really can't speak for those guys because you know, they were on a different level than me. I don't know what those guys were thinking. I mean, I didn't really. I'm real good friends with David, but I never really talked to Rick that much. Sting, I didn't really talk to very much. So I mean, I'm sure those guys probably had a little different feelings than I had, considering they'd been there for a long time and kind of built the company.
Sure. How much time was it from when they picked up your contract to when you were called to even go to Heartland?
I'm trying to think of the time frame. It wasn't very long. I know maybe it was a couple months it lapsed in there, and then
But the paychecks were still coming.
yeah, the paychecks were still coming every Monday. I went to the mailbox, got my paycheck. So and then one day Johnny Laryngitis called me up and says that's when they offered us a new deal. They give us a raise. They said WWE's going to revamp your deal. They're going to give you a raise, but you have to move to Cincinnati. They didn't give us a choice.
Right.
It was either sell your house, tell your wife you're moving, whatever.
Well, did you buy any property down there? Or?
I didn't.
So it's not bad. You're an Ohio kid, so you can go back.
Yeah, I was a couple hours away from my hometown, which wasn't too bad. My wife wasn't very happy with it at the time. I'm divorced now, but she wasn't very happy at all.
Did she move with you from Ohio? Or?
She didn't. She was a nurse in Atlanta, so.
So you met her after you got down there?
No, she moved from Ohio with me. But yeah, she was a nurse, and she didn't want to relocate to Ohio back to Cincinnati, and she thought about maybe moving back to our hometown, because where her mom and her grandparents are. But I just basically went up there, and it was funny. We stayed in an extended stay. Mm-hmm. Me, Jamie Gibson, which is Jamie Howard, or what the heck did he go by in WWE?
Jamie Noble, right?
Yeah, Jamie Noble, that's right. Lash LaRue, you remember him?
Yep.
And me, Reno, Lash, and Jamie lived in the same hotel. And we had 2 beds. I slept on an air mattress, and Jamie and Lash slept in the bed together.
Do you remember what the weekly rate was there?
It was, I want to say like $199 or something.
Divided by 4.
But we didn't know what was going on. They didn't really tell us anything. We didn't know if we were going to be there for a while. So then after we stayed there for a couple of weeks, Jimmy Yang started dating this chick that was, she managed these apartment complexes. So then we all pretty much got a apartment. It was, I don't remember ever paying there, to be honest with you. But we put the lease in my name. So me and Jamie got the bedroom, and then Rick and Reno and Lash LaRue slept out in the living room. Mm-hmm. So, and we had fun there. We were all of us were married, and so we tried to make the best of it, and didn't have our wives there. Reno came all the way from Vegas, so his wife wasn't too happy he was out there either. So, and Lash, he drove from Alabama every day, or every weekend. He would drive. If we didn't have shows, he'd drive back to Alabama and stuff, but. I drive to Atlanta, every other weekend if we didn't have shows or something like that, but it was pretty rough. So
describe your time at Heartland.
Man, it sucked. It sucked bad because we would do, they basically treated us like we're back in the power plant again. We've been on TV, we've been doing all this stuff, and then now we got to go there every morning. We got to do calisthenics, we got to train with the independent guys, which is fine with me other than they were just treating us like we just got into business, man. It was just, it was a big downer, from what we were doing. But, it was just something we had to work through. And then we'd go down to Louisville every Sunday and tape a show down there with, the guys which were down there was John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton, a few other guys, the Basham brothers. Yep.
The VW crew.
Yeah, what was the Rico with the sideburns?
Constantino?
Yeah, Rico, he was a nice guy. Some of the guys were cool. I always got along with John Cena down there. Didn't really get along with Randy Orton too well. He was kind of to himself. Batista was always cool. Then we do a show down there, and had some pretty good matches down here. Wrestled D'Lo Brown. Got to work with. Never got to do a match with Cena or anybody like that, but. When we would go down to Louisville, they would treat all those guys like and Brock was down there. They would treat all those guys like freaking, they were actual WWE superstars, and they treated us like shit. All the WCW guys, they just treated like shit. So it was definitely a difference. And then like Christmas time, they would buy the guys down there like plane tickets home and stuff, and told us we had to figure out how we're getting home for Christmas and shit like that. So. It was that big of a difference. So.
It could be a rough one on morale.
Well, it was okay when then they had a show in Cincinnati. They had a show in Louisville. When I think they used to do the Raw and the SmackDown separate before they start
Right.
going together. So I know they had a show down. They might have had the Raw down in Louisville, and then they come up that night to Cincinnati for the SmackDown or whatever. So Sean Casey, which was the first baseman for the Reds, I'm real good friends with, and so I told him I'd take him down the show and stuff, and so we went down there, and they still treated everybody different. They wouldn't let us go down to Louisville to the show, but then they let all those guys come up to Cincinnati, and they gave them all the dark matches, so we didn't even get a dark match. Nobody got dark matches.
Were you getting any feedback?
Nothing. Other than, like Les Thatcher would just say, you're doing a good job or whatever. And they had Brian Adams, Eddie Guerrero, and Regal and a few other guys come down to the Steve Blackman, come down there and do stuff with us. And then I guess they'd report back to the office or whatever. But the only feedback we got was when Johnny Ace came down there and fired us. So,
So he fired everybody there basically in one swoop?
He pretty much fired all the guys that came from the power plant other than Jamie Noble and Shannon Moore, maybe, but he was never really in the power plant. And actually they kept Mike Sanders, and then he stayed for a little bit longer, and then they got rid of the rest of the guys. So they pretty much came in there and got rid of all the WCW guys other than, they kept, all the guys they brought from Memphis, Steve Bradley, ECMO, and Eddie Fatu, and Charlie Haas and his brother, and all the guys they brought from Memphis they kept.
You think things would have been different if they would have sent you to Louisville maybe instead of Cincinnati?
I definitely think it would have been different. I mean, if they wouldn't have got rid of us sooner, we might have had a chance to actually do something.
What do you think about Les Thatcher as a trainer or a teacher?
Well, I mean, when we were down there, he didn't really do much, honestly. You could pick his brain and talk to him about stuff, and he would tell you about stuff, but he by that point, he was pretty much not in the ring doing much. We had Eddie Guerrero would do a lot of stuff with us, and stuff like that. But and every time Eddie needed something, he'd always call me in the ring and have me, show all the guys stuff because he always put me over like that. So me and Eddie were pretty cool. So
How long were you actually in Heartland before they cut everybody?
I want to say somewhere 10 months maybe. And
So-
then
It's just 8 months of training without any real prospect or direction.
we got a chance to wrestle like the guys that come down from WWE. Like I had a few good matches with Eddie. We used to wrestle at a flea market on Saturday nights down there. Had a few good matches with Eddie there, and got to work Jason Jett down there. All the guys that actually were called up to the roster there, we got to work some good matches and stuff with. So it wasn't a total loss,
What's your mindset after they actually released you? Did you think maybe you were done with wrestling?
No, I told Johnny, I said, I told him, I said, it's just a road bump. I'll be back. And Johnny said he was going to try to help me get down to Puerto Rico and this and that. And then every time I tried to contact him, he never called me back. And I contacted Carlos down in Puerto Rico and stuff. And he acted like he really didn't want me down there. So I kind of, Jerry Toot, which was in the Misfits in Action, the guy with the mohawk, I was real good friends with him, and he started going to Japan. He became real big over there, so he got me over to Japan with Kaz Hayashi and All Japan.
That was All Japan.
Yeah, All Japan with Muda.
So it wasn't Kaz wasn't the liaison there. It was Jerry.
Yeah, it was Jerry. Kaz really didn't have much to do with it at all. Jerry said, "Yeah, I'm gonna get you over there," and whoever he talked to, and actually Kaz did call me, but it was because of Jerry. It wasn't because of Kaz. But
In retrospect, you got to work with some of the biggest names in Japan. You got to work with Muda and Kawada.
I actually, me and Kaya, we wrestled Kawada and one of his, I can't even remember the other guy's name we actually made it to the finals in the tag team one night. So yeah, that was great wrestling Kawada, and I got to wrestle with Kojima several times with Mike Awesome. Him and I were partners against him and Kaz quite a few times. I actually wrestled Muda in the main event, which was great because Muda's he's a freaking god over there. So when I first went backstage when I wrestled Muda, I was pretty nervous because I mean, I'm wrestling Muda in Japan, man. That's a big deal.
Sure.
And if anybody knows anything about wrestling in Japan, they know how big a deal that is. And so I went back to the locker room, and Muda was like, that's when I was doing the Funkster gimmick over there too, and that's when I first got over there, and he and Muda looked at me and said, I want you to do all special moves, Funkster. Muda do nothing. I was like, what? Like, I thought he was ribbing me, and I'm like, he goes, no, we get Funkster over. Muda over already. You get over Funkster. And I'm like, if you compare that to over here, that'd be like Hulk Hogan telling you that, and that ain't never going to happen.
Right.
So, I mean, and as big an icon as Muda is, man, I like that. To me, that was that was one of the highlights of my career.
Where did the Funkster origins come from?
Well, I actually started. I grew up a huge Hulk Hogan fan, and that's basically the reason I started watching wrestling. When I first saw Rocky III, I was like, oh man, this guy's awesome. Mm-hmm. So I started watching wrestling, and I always patterned everything I did after him. And so one day I was actually I did a match with a broomstick down there as the Funkster. Right. And I started letting my hair grow, and I was spiking it real long. So then I was just screwing around and grew my mustache, and then I dyed it white so I looked like him. And then I did a match down there with a broomstick, and everybody's like, man, that's awesome. Then I used to do the interviews and stuff, and they're all like, man, we got to start doing that. And Hogan wasn't working with Vince at the time. And then right when they let us go, Hogan came back, and Brian Adams told me, Kevin Nash told me too that Hogan hated me.
Really?
Yeah, because I was doing it. And I'm like, dude, why the hell would he hate me? Mm-hmm. He said he just don't like it. So I was working out with Kevin in the Gold's Gym one day, and he's like, yeah, man, Hogan can't stand that gimmick. Which I don't know whether he liked it or disliked it. That's what he told Kevin. And I got released shortly after that. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
Could have.
But I'm sure he didn't want me on the roster doing his gimmick.
Right. I think Mike Awesome passed away not too long after that tour, right? Maybe it was a couple of years later. Did you see any instability there? Because I actually had a chance to interview him right before he passed away.
Oh, really? No, he was always cool in Japan. Him, myself, and Jerry, too, would always hang out. Jerry had a drug problem. That was no secret. He went to rehab, and he was getting better. And, when I went to Japan with him, he always told me, he's like, man, I love when you come over here because I leave with money. Because when I don't go with him, he just drinks. He spends it. He wants to buy everybody food all the time, take them out, which is cool. But, I mean, you're over there trying to make money. And I used to tell him, Jerry, you were over here making money, man. You don't have to buy everybody food every night. Right. And you don't have to go out drinking. I mean, we can go out and have a few beers, but pretty much me, him, and Mike Awesome would stay in the room and play video games and watch movies and play 500 rummy. And that's pretty much all we did. So Jerry always, appreciated when I came over there because I helped him, stay the course. Yeah. So, and then actually, I went over the tour before he passed away, and then that tour they didn't have me over there. That's when he passed away. Mm. So, I guess they said he snorted OxyContins. So.
Mm. How about your memories? You were on the very first TNA show, right? The very first one.
Yep. Me and Lenny Lane.
Did Jarrett call you up and I had an idea for you?
Yeah, Jerry called me. Jeff didn't. Said, we got an idea. Want you to work for our company and stuff, and kind of told me a little bit about it, and kind of wanted me to Will and Grace, the gay guy on there. He kind of wanted me to act like him, but honestly, I don't think I'm very good at acting gay at all. That's why I don't understand how to get these roles. So, but he had me go out there, and when me and Lenny got there, and that day, man, all they kept saying the whole time, you're going to be my #1 tag team. We're putting the belts on you. You guys are doing this, that, this, and this. And they were hyping us up big time. And then that night, they're like, oh, hey, we're going to let these two kids beat you. So me and Lenny's like, here it goes. So, we did promo stuff for them. We did pictures. We had all the stuff. And we actually, when it came time they had the tag team tournament for the belts where I think Jerry Lynn and AJ Styles were a tag team. I can't Storm and Harris and a few other tag teams. We actually beat Buff Bagwell and Apollo I think he's from Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, yeah.
And
Apollo.
And he was a pretty good guy. And so we beat those guys, and then they come back to us. We thought we were going to win the belts. And then they come back to us and said, "Nah, I think Jerry Lynn and AJ actually beat us, and they weren't even a tag team. They just threw them together at the last minute." And just stuff like that in wrestling just drives me nuts when they do stuff that doesn't mean anything.
Your run there in TNA was kind of short. Was it just you think they just had an idea, then they backed out on it, and it was just over? Or was that
honestly? I mean, they weren't paying us very much money at all. I think they paid me and Lenny like $500 a show, and that they thought that was a lot.
Were you coming from Atlanta then?
Yeah, so they wouldn't fly me up there, so I drove, and they would fly Lenny to Atlanta, and I'd have to drive 60 miles out of my way to go pick him up, and then drive up to Nashville. Mm-hmm. And they just thought, I think they thought paying us $500 was ridiculous. Which, I mean,
I don't know how the other guys get paid. Maybe it was.
I mean, I would say no, but I disagree. But I think that was one of the main reasons they kind of got rid of us.
Because they thought you were getting paid too much.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I would guess that was what it was.
Did you? I remember the first pay-per-view. It was like the ring broke, I think, before the live show started. Do you have any memories of that?
Shoot, I
match
usually
on
remember
before.
stuff like that, but I must have been busy doing something. I don't remember that.
Don't even remember. A lot of people, know about it. A lot of people don't about the injury you had in Finland.
Okay.
Can you take us back and tell us, first of all, what were you doing in Finland at the time?
There was a wrestling promotion, Valhalla Pro Wrestling. I guess the guy just started it up. So Mike Sanders called me and said, "Hey, this guy wants to book you for the show." And he was booked on it, and he told me Shane Douglas and AJ Styles and a few other people were booked on it. So I was like, yeah, I mean, I wasn't doing anything, so I was trying to get booked whenever I could. So we were actually just supposed to fly in, wrestle the next day, and then fly back out the next day. So we get to the arena and stuff, and we're going over the match. I'm wrestling. Me and Mike Sanders is wrestling Elix Skipper and Sonny Siaki. So we go out there. The match is going. From what I remember, it's a pretty good match. You got 4 good guys wrestling, so we were giving the crowd what they wanted. Backstage, Sonny told me he does a split leg moonsault, and I never watched TNA. I'd already been released by that point, and so him and I trained together at the power plant. I had no reason to say, to doubt what he told me.
He wasn't doing that back in WCW.
No, he never did in WCW, but he said he's been doing it in TNA all the time. So I'm like, split leg moonsault, how bad could it be? Mm-hmm. And so we get out there, and I remember Elix, when he slammed me the opposite way of where he normally do the split leg. So I didn't see what he did. I was just watching for him to come down so I could protect myself. Well, since he slammed me the wrong way, I turned my head like this, and I went to protect myself. By that time, I'd already got hit in the face by his knee. And he didn't have a knee pad on. So, Sonny's a big kid. Mm-hmm. It's not like he weighs 150 pounds. And then coming off the top rope like that. And he hit me real hard in the head. Didn't knock me out, thank God, because if it would have knocked me out, it probably would have killed me because I was having trouble breathing. When he hit me, I had a skull fracture. I broke both my eardrums. My nose was actually on this side of my face, like over here on this cheek. My eyeball was hanging out of my head. All I remember is I threw him off me, and I remember just like, I was like, man, he hit me real hard. And then I started getting blurry. I couldn't really see too much. And then
so initially you didn't even know how bad it was?
No, initially I didn't, not at all. And then I just thought, man, if you ever got punched in the face real hard, that's what it felt like. And I'm like, man, he just hit me hard. And so then when I got up, blood just started pouring everywhere. Blood's coming out of my ears. I'm trying to lean this way just to get blood coming out of one side because it was just coming out of my eyes, my mouth, my nose, out of my ears, and I rolled out of the ring, and I remember people, like, from what I could see and hear, I remember people saying, it's fake, get back in the ring, whatever, and nobody helped me. Nobody helped me at all. And I walk all the way down, up the ramp, back down the go position, everything. No one's back there. It's dark. I couldn't see crap. I'm just trying to find out where I'm going. So I finally get in the back, and there was 2 EMTs standing there, and I'm like trying to feel my way, and I'm like, hey, and he looks at me, and they're like, oh my God. And they immediately take me in the locker room, and they try to lay me down. I couldn't breathe. I kept trying to get them off me. They couldn't speak English, so they couldn't understand what I was trying to tell them. And it was just a
Where,
mess.
where was like the other guys you're in the match with? Where were
They were still out there.
still finishing the
They
match?
didn't know what was going on, really. It happened so fast, I guess. And
But you knew it was bad enough you had to get out of the ring, though.
I mean, honestly, I don't even really. I remember everything, but I don't know what made me just walk out. I just, that's where I just went, and I just wanted to get out of the ring. That's all I knew. And I mean, I remember everything, just like it happened yesterday. But for some reason, I just had tunnel vision to the back. I just wanted to get to the back, and as soon as I get in the back, they started giving me blood and stuff because I was. From where I was sitting, I remember Kid Cash came back there, and I never really got along with Kid Cash that well until that night. And he was sitting there, you know, talking to me because I was about ready to pass out, and I didn't want to because I knew I wouldn't be able to breathe. And he was keeping me awake, talking to me and this and that, and blood was just pouring down the floor all the way down into the drain. Like it just looked like someone poured a 5-gallon bucket of blood over my head. And finally, they put blood in me and stuff, and then they got me in the ambulance. And I asked Mike Sanders to come to the hospital with me because, you know, I didn't know what the hell I was. I just wanted somebody I knew with me. And so I get to the hospital, and I remember Mike leaving, and then I'm in a room, and then I remember him coming in and asking me how I was doing, and I couldn't really talk. I was kind of out of it, you know, and I couldn't really see very good, couldn't hear at all, and so which I'm actually still deaf in this ear after that accident. I have never got my hearing back. He came in. The doctor told him that I was going to die. They told him to go in there and say goodbye to me. So I didn't know that until I got home in Atlanta. Then he said, "Hey, you remember when I come back in the room and said hi to you, see how you were doing?" He said, "The doctor told me you were dead. He said you'd never make it through the night." So
because of the internal bleeding, or
yeah, I had air on my brain, and I had a skull fracture, so I was bleeding. That's why the blood was coming out of my ears and stuff because it had somewhere to go. And so then they couldn't operate on me. That happened on a Saturday night. They couldn't operate on me till Wednesday because I had to wait till all the air, I guess, dissipated from my brain or whatever. Because if they had given me anesthesia, they said it would have killed me or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I had to just wait around till Wednesday, and then I was over there for like 2 weeks, I think, in the hospital. And then after the 2 weeks, then they put me in a hotel room for a couple days until they cleaned my ears out a couple times. I went to the doctors there, and they pulled like blood clots out of my ears and stuff. And then they told me I was cool to fly home, which was a mistake. When I got an airplane from.
Did anybody come back to see you? I mean,
well, there was one.
Or was,
no, my wife.
She was out of the picture by then? Or?
Yeah, well, me and my wife were kind of going through a little bit of turbulence and stuff, and she just, for whatever reason, she didn't want to come over there. And which at the time I really didn't give a shit because I was so out of it. I was on morphine and stuff, so it really didn't matter. And my parents they both had cancer, so they didn't want to travel, you know. So I just told people to stay home, and you know, I'll be fine.
How long did Sanders stay there? Did he have to get his original flight back, or did
he was there a couple days. Elix came to the hospital to see me. Sonny never did come to the hospital.
It's a little messed up.
Yeah, so I was pretty pissed off at Sonny for a while just because he didn't come to the hospital. But not pissed off enough to where I hate him. I still talk to him and stuff. You know, we keep in contact. But
is it just socially awkward that way, or is it?
No, we're cool, man. I remember I actually called Sonny. It's been a couple years, 2-3 years ago maybe, and because I kept doing these interviews saying, you know,
he never came to see you.
Yeah, so then I was like, you know what, I'm going to call him up and talk to him about this. And so I called him up and I said, hey, Sonny, you know, and I was like, you know, just want to have a serious conversation with you and this and that. And he's like, are you okay? Or I was like, yeah, I just want to, you know, clear some stuff up and this and that. And he's like, are you dying or something, or what's going on? You know, and he was all concerned, and I was like, no, and I told him, I said, you know, we came up and wrestling this and that, and I said, I don't know if you think I hate you because all these interviews, and I guess he did an interview where he told some guy that I really didn't care for him anymore, so, and he didn't do it on purpose, you know, and so I said, I just want you to know, Sonny, I still love you, man, and I don't have no hard feelings towards you. And he's like, oh, that's good to know, and this and that. So we've been cool ever since. I actually just saw him. We worked out and had lunch together not too long ago.
That injury kept you out for how long?
About a year to the day. About a year. It was right at a year. I didn't even get back in the gym probably for about 9 months. Couldn't really drive. couldn't see too well. So I was pretty screwed up for a while. Broke my jaw. I was pretty much eating just soup.
How do you? Because you couldn't work then, right?
No, I couldn't work. Actually, Jerry Toot, Dale Torberg, the Demon. I don't know if you remember a guy named Danny Fakir. He was down at the power plant. He was an All-American wrestler at Arizona State. He was good friends with Don Fry. Those guys actually Jerry Toot, man, he sent me a few checks for a few $1,000s. Helped me pay my house payment and stuff. So Jerry was a great friend, man, and I wasn't expecting that from those guys, and I'd go to the mailbox and get checks from those guys and stuff, and I'd call them up and told them I wasn't going to cash them, and they were getting pissed off at me and said, you better cash the checks, and they helped me out.
We hear so many stories how there's no real friends in the wrestling business, but apparently for you, that's a different story.
Well, I mean, I got a few friends in the wrestling business. I wouldn't say a lot, but like Dale Torberg and Rick Cornell, which was Reno. I still keep in contact with him. There's only a couple guys I consider my friends, and Jerry was one of them, but he's passed away since then. And hopefully I treat everybody good enough to where they, I know the wrestling business is kind of a shitty business sometimes, but I was still raised right. So.
Most recently, you've been on Lucha Libre USA as Chi-Chi, one of the Exoticos.
The only Exotico.
The only one left, right?
I'm the only Exotico there, and they won't do anything with it. It's like, if you got something that's going to stand out, you gotta, that's just my MO in wrestling. I always get there, but I don't get there.
Who called you to be part of the Lucha Libre team?
Jindrak. Jindrak's one of I'm pretty good friends with Mark too, and he's doing really well for himself in Mexico and stuff, and he's doing all kinds of commercials and different stuff down there, and so they contacted Mark, and he I was one of the first guys he contacted me, and John Huger, which was Johnny the Bull, and wanted me to be part of it. So and they were looking for a character, kind of since the Kwee stuff, and he's like, I think you could pull it off, and we want to use you for this character, and of course they made it sound really good, and but again the money's not that great there, but it was a chance to get back on TV. And
was it frustrating because they haven't had a consistent TV?
Well, at first, when they first got on TV and stuff, they did, and then like recently they put it. We filmed, I don't know how many, 13 shows are in the tank waiting to be put on TV or maybe more. And, they got a studio in Albuquerque, New Mexico, so we were flying out there every other week or so and filming these shows. And I don't know how many they got. And then they put it on TV like a month ago or so. And then it was on Saturday mornings on MTV2 at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And it was on for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and they decided to take it off TV. I guess the one of the money guys, Lewis, had a issue with the time slot, and they took it off TV, which doesn't really make sense to me. If you got something on TV, you better just keep it there until it runs out. I mean, that's why they got DVRs and stuff these days. Nobody really watches live. And I remember, I'm from Ohio, so Eastern time, 10 a.m. That was the WWE or the WWF Superstars.
Yeah, that's not a bad time.
It was a great time. Everybody watched that show then.
So, I mean, as we stand right now, do you know anything? Are they going to put it back on the air?
As far as I know, they got Dr. Pepper sponsoring them, from what I'm hearing. And they're supposed to start running some house shows, which I would probably say that's not going to be probably till the beginning of the year. Now that Christmas and stuff's coming up, I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be the beginning of the year.
Have you had any opportunities to work in Mexico?
I haven't. I've tried a few times, but Mark hasn't really been able to help me out because he's kind of going through some transition down there. He's kind of working independent stuff down there now because he had, fallen out with a few of the companies and stuff. So the one guy that John Recon, I don't know if you know who he is, big.
Oh yeah, from the West Coast guy?
Yeah, he's from San Francisco. He works down there, and
John Strong, Joe Strong. Is that how he wrestles?
I know for us he wrestles as Recon, John Recon. He's with RJ and Petey. But I roomed with him one night, and I was talking to him about maybe getting down there, but he told me he really couldn't help me. He said the best way for me is to just fly down there myself and try to meet with somebody. But I mean, I'm not going to do that.
No.
Nah.
Okay.
So.
Did you previously own a tanning salon?
I did for a few months. I opened up a supplement store. I had a supplement store before the tanning salon, and lost a lot of money trying to open that. And it was right when the economy started taking a dump, and lost quite a bit of money doing that. And then had a little bit of money left over, so my buddy owned a few tanning salons, so I tried to take one of his over and got screwed out of that deal. So he owes me about 30 grand that I'll never see, and so shit happens, but you got to take a chance, I guess.
So what's next for you?
Well, I was just recently going through the city of Atlanta to be a police officer.
Oh yeah.
And I made it all the way to the end, passed all the tests, and dumbass me put on there I took steroids because I'm too honest, and got all the way to the voice stress test. Was like a polygraph, and they didn't even give it to me. They said my recruiter basically told me I was going to be starting the academy in January, and then when they saw that, he went out and talked to the lieutenant, and from day one I told him that I smoked pot twice, that's all I ever smoked. Pot was twice in my life. They said they wanted honest people, so so I was being honest,
right.
And I wasn't initially going to say nothing about the steroids, which I wish I wouldn't have, and I did, and they didn't catch it till the end, and then we did through a 11-week process, and they disqualified me from the process after the end.
I think you're due a little bit of luck here soon. Something's got to go your way.
We'll see what happens. I got a good girlfriend now and stuff, so she's a nurse, and that's a good thing in my life right now. So,
well, good.
But
you've certainly had a tale of survival, and you're still relatively young here for the wrestling business. So, we wish you the best of luck. Thanks for joining us today.
I appreciate it.
Sharing your story, and if there's anything we can ever do for you, let us know.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.